welcome everyone. This is just a live stream. I'm working on cleaning up the shop, showing this piece. Probably be delivered this week. I got to see what their availability is. I got a lot going on here. You see, I got my table saw. Got the rattler table in the background on top of a woodworking bench. Ambient sensor, nice skewed view. Thanks for joining in. So this is the coffee table that we've been talking about for a while. So I'll just give you a little rundown of how. Hey, Glenn. Yeah, thanks for commenting on that. So if you wouldn't mind, leaving a comment is helpful, and the like button, but retweeting that'll really help. Yeah, hey Paul Peck, what's up, brother? So if you don't know, Paul Peck is king of all tags. So this coffee table was a combination of things. MDF. Yeah, thanks, man, Sensor. 3D printed elements, and I'll go into all the details now about that. And I use Rust-Oleum Paint. I have the paint can here someplace. Let me go grab that. It's all about the product placement. So this is the paint I used. Big fan of this paint. But the smell is horrendous, so you definitely have to, to get it closer. It's Rust-Oleum Universal. Flat black is what I used. So let's go into the build details. I'm going to get a closer shot here. Alright, so this is a floating corner. Now what that means is that the corner itself is not directly attached to the surface. It's offset, and I designed the corner pieces that join everything in Fusion 360 and mounted them to this piece. And this is two pieces that are mited together on a corner. If you notice, this is a cap that's covering two bolts that are coming through, number 6 bolts that are through here. 3D printed it, glued it on with some CA, and painted it. You can't even tell. And I did the same thing on the bottom there. Now there's edging that I did that you may not be able to see. That is 3D printed also. That's 2 millimeters thick with a small overhang edge so that I could get it lined up perfectly. You may be able to see the overhang right there. That's like a 1 millimeter overhang, I think. Us 3D printer guys, we all pretty much talk in millimeters now. Then here is a corner cap. I 3D printed that so it hid the miter. Now let's take a look at this. I'm gonna slide off. Let's see if I can raise the tripod. Now this is acrylic. That's a 1/2 inch acrylic, and I sanded it with a palm sander. Random orbital sander, DeWalt sander that I got. And I tried 320 grit, it was too fine. And then I went to, let's see, what do we see here? You refuse to talk in millimeters. Yeah, I hear that, brother. Yeah, that's right. You do have to use it in 3D printing. So I had to sand it on the one side, but then even sanding it on the one side, it didn't help. So I had to sand it on both sides. And I had to go to 80 grit. And I think maybe 60 grit would have worked out better. Hey, Keko. Yeah, thanks for joining. So, just a quick, oh yeah, that would be great. How do we do that? I gotta work on that. Yeah. Alright, so this right here is 64 feet of LED strips. They are 2 sets each, so there's 4 sets total, 4 strips total, and they're in pairs in series, so there are 2 sets on one controller, 2 sets on another controller to guarantee enough current and everything. Now this floating corner, I can't see chat right now because I got the phone turned on its side. This is a floating corner, so this whole thing comes off. And that right there was 3D printed. That's the mount, and I have the opposite mount here. Let's see if I can show you the side profile of this now. And you may be able to see if there's a hook in there. So there's a hook in there that hooks into this piece here, and then LED strips here that are indirectly shining into this piece of acrylic that I have mounted in the middle of it. So that's how I did the corner, and that was, all 4 corners were done that way. Then there's edging all around the entire perimeter of the table, and it's just a sheet of MDF that I routed out 10 millimeters on the inside. Basically, it's a rabbet that I did with my router bit, and I put LED strips in there. So I don't know if you can notice, there's light shining down here, so that there'll be a faint glow around the bottom of the table. Now I'm going to take off the sheet of acrylic, and I'm going to show you the inside of the table. The inside of the table is not glamorous at all, but I just want to show you the electronics. So it's quite heavy. Alright, I put 2 handles on here. Thanks, Paul. So I put 2 handles on here, and they're just stainless steel cabinet pulls, so that you can lift this out, right? And that's to get to the electronics. So here's the electronics. It's somewhat managed, and then others would say you have poor cable management. The managed part is I glued the controllers in place, and I tried to route the wiring. I also included a fuse block with a 5 amp fuse. I measured using my multimeter that it was taking 5 amps at the high current, and it's a deep cycle battery. If you know anything about boating, you'll recognize that's an AGM deep cycle battery. I think it's an advanced glass matte material or something, with a Genius charger, NOCO charger. It's a 10 amp charger, so it'll charge this in about a day. So we're pretty much set with the electronics in this table. Now this here, the front of this is a sheet of acrylic. That's a 1/4 inch acrylic, and I painted it with the Rust-Oleum Paint. 2 coats of Rust-Oleum Paint. Then I ran it on my CNC. I built a CNC like 10 years ago. Really haven't used it that much. I really should have. Kicking myself that I haven't. But anyway, used it in engrave mode. This is literally 0.01 inches in depth for the bit that cut out this. And then there's LEDs that you won't be able to see because the sign, the logo is blocking it. But there's the light box, and so there's 2 strips of LEDs in here, which is 32 foot of LEDs in that box. So this is really what's been a month and a half of creating this. Does anybody have any questions about this? I'm going to start moving on to cleaning up my shop. That was really the big introduction to the table. I have about 2 terabytes. Yeah, thanks. I have about 2 terabytes of footage, and if you're a creator, you know what that means, of 4K footage. So it's about 5.5 hours on my video. Let me see if I can see what that comment is. Oh yeah, I could do that. Yeah, so yeah, you guys that do the editing, you know that 2 terabytes is quite a bit of 4K. So 5.5 hours on my Panasonic camera is about 250 gigabytes. So you know, you could do the math. It's like maybe 40 hours of footage. I thought I had a lot more footage, but apparently it's like only 40 hours. There was some work that I wasn't doing that just wasn't worth recording. But I think I got a lot of it. I did make a lot of new bears though. So, you know, we as creators, we have this mental checklist of things you got to do. You get used to doing it and doing it. Sometimes you forget to hit the record button. And I'm in the middle of talking and my camera shuts off. Well, it went into sleep mode because it wasn't doing anything. I'm like, what the? So I had to redo some stuff. It just hit me a couple times. But other than that, yeah, I'm happy with this. I think this is really going to help the channel for 2018. It's going to be a 8 to 13 part. I think I'm leaning more towards 13 parts. I have a lot of the design that I did in Fusion 360, a lot of the 3D printing. I'll be able to incorporate that. So that's a lot of hours there in those videos. And a lot of those were live streamed. But when I live stream, I also record. Yeah. So you hit that button, and then you're like crap. All right, so I'm gonna switch into cleanup mode. But let me give you a little quick tour of the tools that I have before I do that. All right, so I started out woodworking really when I was 2, I think. My dad started teaching me, and the first one he taught me with was this bandsaw here, and I started making Christmas ornaments I think when I was 3 or 4. And my aunt told me at a funeral that we were at, is it funny you see your aunts and uncles at a funeral? Not funny, but I mean that's kind of the reality. And she said that she hangs the Christmas ornaments that I made her on her tree every year, which I thought was like really awesome. So I'm gonna, now that I got 3D printing, I'm gonna 3D print some ornaments for next Christmas, and I'm gonna drop them off to her. All right, so that's the bandsaw. It's a 12-inch bandsaw that was bought in 1971, I think. Then we have a table saw. So I think most people know what a table saw is. I won't go into that. And let me reduce these legs so I don't hit anything. You're going to come on a tour with me. So it's about 50 degrees here Fahrenheit, which I don't know what that is in Celsius. Maybe 16, 15, 14. I forget. Oh yeah, here's a piece of crap thing. I want to show you this. So this is a pancake. That's a pancake compressor. When you buy a compressor, read the fine print. They legit put on there, not for contractor use. And you know what that means? That it's only for home use, and it will only last you like maybe 100 hours if you're lucky. So that was one that had not for contractor use. All right, here's a tool that I bought. This is a sign that I have to get to still. It's a I Can Fix That. He's a cool dude, Mike Eiler. He's got a YouTube channel. He's in my town. He works on cars and stuff. So This is a mortiser. I don't know if you know what a mortise and tenon is, but this is a tool that literally drills square holes. So I bought that and haven't used it that much, so that kind of sucks. I will get it into using it more because, like I said, I am a woodworker. Drill press, if you don't know what a drill press is, you put a drill in there and you can literally drill through something with more precision than you would by hand by holding a handheld drill. Alright, I just got this thing recently. This is a nice table. I had to get it in a rush. I did not have time to build one because I would rather build one. I even have the router plate for my router, but I just didn't have time to build it. So there's my router. It's a Frood router, right? Then I have 2 of these radial arm saws, so I have to clean off all this. It's a 10-inch radial arm saw. I got another one on the other side of the shop. And the reason why I have 2 is because you can set them up. If you're doing a big project, you can set up one radial arm saw for ripping, and you can set up the other one for cross-cutting. It's really helpful. You can even set up, the cool thing about the radial arm saw, you can even add the sanding discs to it, or you can add the sanding drum to it. So now it can become a drum sander or a disc sander, which is really helpful. And there's that puppy there. So that's a planer. I got to get that guy up and running. So a thickness planer. I do have 2 miter saws. This is just a straight up miter saw. And then I have someplace over here is that was a combination miter saw. And then if you're not familiar with rollers, whenever you're a one-man team, you really want a roller. So that's what I got. And then the last thing I'm going to show you before I clean up is this is my joiner. This is an old school Craftsman joiner. This thing weighs, I think, 300 pounds. I can barely move it myself, maybe 400 pounds. It's not only, this is solid cast iron all the way around, but then my dad, when he worked at DuPont before he became a cop, he was in the machine shop and he welded up this table stand. I think this accounts for this table with the legs. I think that accounts for at least 100 and some pounds. Here's my other radial arm saw. I have to get a top for it, but it'll be ready soon. And then this is the CNC. So you can see the CNC. I built this 10 years ago. Still works fine, but I want to expand it. And it's just using a rigid trim router. So that's it for the shop tour. I'm going to begin cleaning up. I'll let this live stream run. So thanks for watching. And I'm going to leave it right here on the table. And you'll see me walking around the shop, and hopefully I'll be able to catch any comments. I'm just extending the legs now so I can put the tripod back down. Oh, and shop safety, right? If you don't have one already, make sure you put a fire extinguisher. This one I had to use once already. I had a grill fire, which is right out in the back, and I had I must do not. I put bacon on the grill. Yeah, don't put bacon on the grill. I had to use it, so I bought another one as a backup, and this one that I bought is for a workshop, so it can handle chemicals and stuff. Yeah, definitely. Whenever you have something like a CNC or you do woodworking, you're drilling a lot, you're using a jigsaw, things that can generate fine dust, that also generate air, like wind. You get embers, and those embers can light up and ignite, and if you're not paying attention, you can get a fire. And so I even have on my list to buy one for my office, because my YouTube studio, not much of a studio, but I'm working on that. I got the 3D printer there. Well, the 3D printer itself, it's a Prusa. It does generate heat. What's the chances of that catching on fire? But nonetheless, there's a chance that any 3D printer could cause a fire. So, but I do have smoke detectors around it just in case. So I'm gonna walk around. So thanks for joining in. I'm gonna leave the live stream up, so I may miss your comments. Same with spray painting in an area where there's gas. Oh yeah, shit. So the Rust-Oleum stuff, like I got this garage heater. Oh, okay. So here's something. This is I installed that garage heater and I did a video on it. The video is doing pretty well. It's you know, it heats a garage. Now that doesn't have a flame in it, but it could still technically be a point of ignition. But since it's high up, it's not likely. But if you have a heater, space heater that's down low, that's like a dangerous combo, especially if you have gas can. Like I got a couple of gas cans in here, and now they're the newer gas cans that don't necessarily leak vapors, but you know, you're putting your trust in how well that gas can was manufactured. If it leaks some vapors, you know, vapors stay down low, and if you have a heater down low, it could ignite. So yeah, definitely be aware of that. Oh, and if you're a woodworker and you use stains that contain linseed oil is an exothermic reaction as it vaporizes, which is bad news, because if you have rags that you applied stain with and you put them in the trash, they literally can get so hot, and if there's enough wind or air, it can ignite and start a fire. So always keep them in a coffee can, a metal coffee can, or some type of metal can that's away from stuff, like preferably outside of the house, away from brush and all that, like in the middle of your driveway or something. Let them dry out on their own away from the house, because that could ignite. So that's my shop tip. Now I'm going to keep talking a little bit here, because my cleanup does involve my table saw. So thanks for joining. If you're watching, and if you leave, that's cool. This is just shop talk now. So this is a DeWalt palm sander I got. It's 12,000 RPM. I tried getting the adjustable one, but they didn't have it in stock, so I just got this one, and I needed it. I used this to sand down the acrylic top here. So if you notice, you know, the acrylic top, it's sanded down well enough that it's an opaque finish, and that's what I used on it. And I think I tried 320 grit, and that was stupid. I didn't want to go too high too fast. I mean too low of a grit too fast. Then I tried 220, it wasn't working. 120 was kind of getting me there. 80 really got me there fast. And definitely wear a respirator or a mask, because this is fine dust. The acrylic stuff is fine dust. And if you know anything about table saws, you know that. Alright, yeah, thanks for joining in, brother. So, table saw safety. Now, this was a push stick that was made by my dad. This one too. This one's out of oak, but it was made in a way that, you know, the grain there is a problem. So I think some of the plastic ones are the plastic ones are a little bit better in the regard that there's no like real shear point. And if you look at the way that this was done, you know, the grain goes this way. If you can see that. If you can see the grain. So that's why some of this broke off. So I am going to have to redo this. And I'll make a video on how I do it. This one, a little bit better. You know, it's a double-ended one. So that when one fails, you know, you at least got the other one. And I usually do it in pairs. So when I'm pushing a piece through the saw, I'll do it on the one side and before the blade, not after the blade, because you don't want to pinch the material. When I'm ripping, I'll push like this, and then once I get past the blade, I'll kind of continue pushing without any pressure from this, but I might maintain pressure from the top of the piece. But I do have the whole rip fence and everything in there. I'm not a big fan of using a rip fence, just because it gets in the way. So we'll leave that right there. I have lots of these totes from Home Depot. Just folding up some moving blankets and getting them in some totes so I can get them in the attic. If they're in the attic, that means they're not in the workshop taking up space. Can't really fit that many in this tote. Looks like I can barely get 5. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 2 more totes. Check the comments. Just trying to clean up the shop a little bit. Yeah, I wish the chat on the mobile app would stay on the top. It doesn't. It disappears. So I have to keep hitting the button to see it. Looks like I got room for 1 more. So one thing at a time to clean up the shop. Just trying to get stuff out of here. I've had so many other things going on that I haven't taken the time to clean up my shop. There we go. Now I got the trek to go all the way up in the attic 4 times because I have 4 of those totes. This is where I get ADD because I like start working on one thing, I do something else. Now it all has to get done. It's not necessarily a methodical approach. So fire safety, when you're drilling holes through the wall, make sure any of the annular openings, which is nothing more than a hole in the wall, is filled with some type of fire blocker or fire stopper or fire resistance, and use something like this. Hey Greg. Let's see, so, alright, so Greg started coming. Man, I would love a desk like that. Yeah, yeah, looks great, thank you so much. You have a printer half built, yeah, yeah. Ain't that some shit? Yeah, we all have this issue. I think, I don't think we'd be successful in 3D printing if we didn't have some form of ADD. Mine is a hyper focus, so when I get rolling on a task, like, don't interrupt me. I gotta finish it, and I neglect everything else when I do it. And that's for work too. So when I'm working, I'm a software engineer. So when I'm working, like I want to crank through the software, and I just want to keep going. Yeah, see, so yeah, there you go. So when I'm working on code, like the whole multitasking thing, I think is like bullshit. And, I don't think you can be successful if you multitask. Like it's just like task switching. If you constantly have to task switch, you just lose a lot of momentum because you're got to rethink where you were and everything. I just like staying focused on one thing. But when I'm doing a cleanup, an example of ADD going the wrong way, when I'm doing cleanup, it's like the whole task is cleanup, and I'm doing that, but it's just like I'm not focusing on one area. I'll do like this. Oh, look, a starfish, you know, and I'll go play with that, and like it's just I'm all over the place when it comes to activities like that. It'll get done, but if somebody interrupts me in the middle of cleaning up, I'll probably stop the cleanup and go help it because I really don't like cleanup. See, like I'm looking down here at this jig that I built that I probably don't need anymore, but I'll probably hold on to. This is a jig so I can cut these pieces on my router. And like I just picked it up. Why did I pick it up? I don't know. I have no idea why I just picked it up. It was there. Hey, Noah Joshua, right? We were talking about that last night on Glenn and Xander's. Which at first I thought it meant NJ lives in New Jersey. because that's where I live, New Jersey. Yeah, Noah and Joshua. Yeah, you know what? It's funny. He did a video on calipers. I don't know if you saw the video. Okay, so check out Noah and Joshua. Right. So we've had this movement, kind of. I think it was started by Joel, maybe started by somebody else before him, where, trying to give back to the community. And one way to do that was a giveaway, and you sponsor the channels. I think there's a morph of that movement, which is more like call out or shout out to other channels, and especially newer creators or creators that have less than 1,000 subs. And even, I think it might have been Barnacles. No, Boogie 2988. He said he had a stream talking about the YouTube dilemma, the YPP partner program change. And one of the things he said was, don't donate to him. He'll take your donation, but don't donate to me because you look up to me. Find a small creator and donate to them instead, which I thought was really cool. So that's what we have to do. We have to prop up the creators so that they don't become discouraged, right? So, like, Noah Joshua just started, right? That doesn't sound good. Okay, just a backfire on the car. So, anyway, Noah's channel, definitely go check out his channel, subscribe to his channel. I like the fact, how old are you, Noah? I mean, that's a personal question to ask, but give me a roundabout age of how old you are, because I think it's impressive that you're doing this at such a young age. You're talking about measurements. Like, who talks about measurements at a young age? Like nobody talks about measurements at a young age. But we're kind of forced to in 3D printing land, because first off, you need to understand the size of your filament. You need to understand your build plate. You need to understand volume for your build volume, your XYZ, Cartesian or Delta if you're in that realm, or rotational if you're the polar axis. So I think it was awesome that he did that measurement video, and I'm going to take it a step further, which is a video I planned on doing. I wrote a white paper. It's not published, but it's a white paper on how to determine uncertainty. And uncertainty is a term in measurements used to gauge how uncertain you are for the device that you're measuring with. And uncertainty, a lot comes with that. So when you take a measurement, so make sure you remember this, NJ printing. When you take a measurement, and machinists know this already, so I don't have to speak to them. When you take a measurement, you have to really log in your journal. You take a journal of notes when you're taking measurements. You don't necessarily need to know the pressure, but hey, that could be a factor. Definitely temperature. Note the humidity. Humidity sometimes has an effect on material that we're measuring. For instance, you're in construction and you're using a 100-foot tape measure, and you measure in the morning. Let's say it's in the desert. You measure it in the morning, and then you take that same measurement midday when the sun is beating down and the temperature is like really ramped up. Your measurement could be off by ½ an inch on a 100-foot tape measure. So you need to take that into consideration. That's part of the uncertainty. Your environment. What are the external factors? How are you holding the device when you measured it? So to get around all that, when you take measurements, you typically measure 3 times, and that's okay, but 10 times is better. 20 times is the ultimate. Beyond that, it's diminishing returns. And because when you take a measurement 10 times, like if you're using calipers and you use it right at the bottom of the calipers and you're measuring something, um, your angle and what you're holding it could be off slightly. Let's say you're trying to measure a square object or even a round object. You could be holding it just differently and you'll get a different measurement. Measure 20 times, cut none. Yeah, that's right. Or you say cut once and measure 20 times and cut none. Oh, so at work, we're a bunch of engineers at work. In my previous job when I was at Siemens, we had this thing where we always purposely tried to say things wrong. So whatever to say. So give me a saying, like like for instance, the one measure twice, cut once, whatever. We would totally mix that with another saying or something, or don't look in the mirror with a black cat or something, or I don't know. But it's things like that, and we would say it so wrong that it totally messed up the way we were thinking, because we'd always try to think in this weird way. But when we talked to one another, we understood completely what we all meant. Yeah, right. Make like a tire. Yeah. Yeah, we totally say all that wrong. Yeah, so I want to prop up NJ Printing. I think that's really awesome. But here's another tip, NJ Printing. Don't stop. Like, stuff's going to get hectic. You're going to have a lot of homework. You're going to have a lot of life challenges. Yeah, thanks. Try to make a video once a week. If things get really tough, just try to make a video once a week. That's what I do. I do that, Greg. So when I do crown molding, legit, I tell people, I'm like, look, I'd rather cut long and have to trim a little bit off every time than cut too short and you're like, oh man. So I'll make my measurement when I did the crown molding video. Like, you didn't see a lot of the takes, which was me going back and forth for one piece, like maybe 5 times. I think my maximum was 10 times. I had to go back and forth between here and the shop, which is where I was cutting. But yeah, that stuff happens. Crown molding, you really like the cope, but in that cope, for those who don't know, coping saw is a little tiny blade, and you cope along the profile of the crown molding or molding, so it fits together perfectly, and you don't see the miter joint. But there are woodworking terms. So these are the rotary discs that are boofed. Yeah, it's like the oh yeah, right. So these sanding discs, like some of them are okay, but you can see like the surface, it's not evenly using the surface. It's like it's concentrating on like the outside and the very middle here. Except this one I was pressing like harder, and this was 320 grade, I think. Yeah, 320. It's pretty cool technology though. It's very simple. This is cloth on the back, and it sticks to what's the equivalent of like Velcro hooks on that. So that's neat. So if you're not in woodworking and you want to know about that, that really helps. Yeah, I got that covered. I do want to build a jig for my belt sander, so I can have a stand-up sander, so I can just take pieces and cut it along it. And if you don't know who this is Doc Jared Hildebrandt. He's a woodworker and a turner. He does some pieces, so make sure you check out his channel also. But yeah, check out NJ and anybody else. Me, or are you talking with Greg? Yeah, I do 3D printing, but I think you already knew that. Yeah, I think pretty much everybody in here is 3D printing. Paul Peck, who was in here earlier, is not. He's a drywall guy, but he's a nerd, so he does nerdy stuff, and he plays video games also. Yeah, well, I just started 3D printing not even a year yet. I got my printer from Prusa the first week of April. Wait, Fun King, you're not into 3D printing? Got him. So I should keep track of all this because this is my consumables. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 discs used. That's a pretty good deal. I got this was $15 for 50 discs. Yeah, I got a mod in my printer too. There's a couple things I want to do. Oh, so here's a question. On a Prusa, I saw that Giuseppe over 3D printer noob. He posted and he has 31 days or something on his printer. I do my stats and it shows 23 hours. Why is it only showing 23 hours? I had one print alone that was 30 hours. Is the Octoprint messing that up or something? Or maybe Octoprint's taking it over, because I do have a plugin that I just installed. I don't know. If you know the answer to that, let me know. I would like to know why that's the case. I want to know that I want to see a number that like I've been printing for like a month now, because I'm pretty certain that's how long I've been printing for. I'm going to 3D print this thing too. Yeah, okay, so it's only time printed from SD card, yeah. I'm going to 3D print this little doohickey here, so I have to reverse engineer it. This is the bag. I want to make an adapter so I can hook it up to my my shop vac, which somebody might have already done it and put it up there on Thingiverse, I don't know. And I gotta make, Glenn, are you, I don't know if I could do it from the phone here. See if I can make you guys moderators. Hey, Sean. Yeah, this is the table. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because what I was just talking about was making this this adapter. I want to vacuum this out real quick. Give me a minute. What model sander? That is... Oh, and one thing, see, this is where ADD kicks in. I don't have the ability to make you moderator. Not from here. So I'll have to do that next time. This is... Oh, let me look on the box. Can't find it on the sander itself. So this is DWE 6421K. So 6421K. Yeah, they might already have an adapter for that. Yeah, it was cool. My mom, she got me gift cards. So, you know, my dad passed away, like, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years, 9 years ago, maybe. I forget how long ago. But anyway, he would always buy. Oh, cool. All right, so yeah, I'll check that out. Thanks, man. But he would always buy tools, you know, like all the time. And so she got me gift cards, and I was able to buy this sander and all the sanding discs with the gift cards, which I thought was pretty cool, because, you know, we were just talking about how my dad would buy, like every Friday, he would go to the Sears in Camden, New Jersey, we live just south of there, about like 20 minutes. And he would go to the Sears there every Friday. Him and my mom, and they would buy tools at Sears. And he, oh my God, I think my brother has half of what he bought, and I have the other half. And the bandsaw and the planer, joiner. That table saw was from a friend's grandfather. The radial arm saw was from him. The other radial arm saw was from my friend's grandfather. So I had some people donate some tools to me. But all the wrenches and stuff, yeah, it's all from him. Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for joining too. Yeah, this has 3D printed elements in it. It's not just woodworking. Oh, here's one cool thing I want to show you, Glenn. So this shows you, and everybody else in the chat too. So this is the plug. So I designed this thing. So first question is, who do you know that plugs in their coffee table? This is for the charger. So I've been on for 2 years. 2 years, December 23rd. And I think it was the one Friday night. Oh, that's the other thing, Glenn. Can you let everybody know about our F3D PCH meetup that we have? If you don't already know, guys, we have this stream every other week on a Friday night, and it's this Friday that it's going to happen. But there's a hashtag you can look up. Anyway, I plugged this in, and it charges the battery on the table, because when the request was that the table be made so that it didn't have a plug. So it is, yeah, just type in the name, Glenn, of our channel, then they can look it up. So the request was to make it so that it didn't have a plug required to turn the lights on the table. So I designed that adapter, 3D printed it, and used calipers like you do, NJ printing, and measured the hole. I drilled it out, and it turns out that my hole was just a little bit smaller. So I went into Fusion 360 and took off 1 millimeter, and it fit perfectly. So I had to reprint it. And you know, we have a lot of that too, either failed prints or reprints. But that worked out well. And then Matt Flimpall, Country Cowboy, he's How I Do It. He suggested that on the back side of the plug, where the plug goes through, that I create a grommet or something that can be screwed on or glued on. So I created 2 pieces the other night, printed that out, glued them on. And so now that plug won't come out at all. That's glued on with a lot of CA glue. So let me stay on here, guys. Give me a moment. I'm going to make some of you guys moderators. So just give me a moment. I got to go up to my computer to do that. Okay, and I'm back. Let's see. So you guys can post links in there now. So go ahead and post the, if you haven't already, post the link for Friday night 3D printing, and then also post your Twitter links, Greg and Glenn. Get that out there so everybody can follow you on Twitter. And then one request I have, follow me on You Do It Contracting on Facebook. I know, Glenn, you don't like that Facebook, but it'll help me out. Because one of the things I'm trying to do when I get this build series, it's going to be promoted on Facebook heavily. So that's cool. Yeah, you guys should be able to post links now in there. Get the Friday night 3D print chat and the other one, and your Twitter links. And make sure everybody you follow. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Glenn. Make sure you follow NJ Printing too. He's got some cool stuff going on there. I see that channel being big in a couple years. And whatever you do now, it's a 5-year plan, right? So I'm only 2 years into the 5 years. So you just got to keep creating, and you have to branch out beyond YouTube. Like go on Twitch, go on other sources. And then you also have to begin collecting email addresses, which I'm going to start doing soon. I have to get my website up and running for that. Vacuum this out. If you want to see my son's setup, you can stay tuned, because I did he's in there playing, I think, Fortnite right now. But he said I could live stream in a minute from his room, so I'm going to take you in there so you can see his studio. So Greg, I missed the comment you were saying about the desk. You're gonna redo your desk now? And keep in mind, I don't have this desk. This isn't my desk. This is a coffee table for a friend's business. Not a bad little bag. I don't have room for the sanding discs. But hey, that worked out. At least keeps it contained. Cool. base to my router. So I have the router on my router table right now. Hey, thanks for joining. You do 3D printing or anything? Yo, what's up, Matt? Thanks for joining in. I want to show you the close-up of the plug in action since you just joined. So here's the plug you helped me with, Matt. So once I plug this in, it charges. So who do you know that plugs in their coffee table? And you know it's yeah, thanks. So I made it big enough so that it would accept. I went through a range of power cords. What's the charge life? Okay, it's 160 amp hours, and max tilt on this is 5 amps. So you're looking at, 160 amp hours really isn't true because the voltage starts dropping and becomes useless. So let's say it's like really 120, or let's just do 100 amp hours for easy math. It's 5 amps. You got 20 hours. If I drop the intensity down, I measured on my multimeter about 1.6 amps. So that means if it were 160, you'd be looking at 100 hours. So let's do 80% of that. You're probably looking at 80 hours. So yeah, I don't know what level of brightness they're going to do in the office. It definitely has a wow factor when it's up full bright. There's no doubt about that. It's awesome when it's dark. I don't think I can make it too dark in here. Let's try. My favorite project was this one, but I gotta say that financially, doing my son's music studio with the crown molding around it was awesome. So let's see. And I put the LEDs here. Yeah, it does. But it's really killer at night. I could see you having like really dim lighting, like you would almost have at like a tavern or a bar. Let me see if I can make it blue. Alright, and let's dim it. So that's dim all the way. Let's see if we can dim the other one. Let's make that green. So that's dimmed all the way down now. Oh, my project? Yeah. No, I didn't code the lights. Just RGB, yeah. Just flexible strips. They were $24 for a double set. So that means it's 32 feet total in there. Yeah, it looks good at night for sure. When it's dark, it looks good like this. But if they leave it plugged in, which I really don't recommend that they do, because the charger has a smart charge option, and it notices when the deep cycle battery gets up to charge, and if it's constantly pushing electrons into the battery, I don't know what happens. I don't know if it's okay that it does that. Maybe the battery's okay if it keeps pushing electrons in. I don't know. But it's a smart charge feature, so maybe the smart charge feature is only for energy savings, and maybe not the life of the battery. I don't know. Well, let's see if we can change the mood. See if we can get a 3D Pink Mafia. Let's see here. They look pink. It looks slightly purplish on my side. And I know if I crank up the brightness, it It might skew it a little bit. So now it's all the way bright. So it kind of looks white when you go too bright on the top. Yeah, so there you go, there's the pink. And when I increase the intensity, the camera adjusts automatically. So, you do me a favor and get a screenshot of that. And then tweet that to DD Header. Yeah, I was thinking about that, but I didn't know what the longevity was of that, so I steered clear of it. I know that these LEDs are good for 20,000 hours. Thank you. Yeah, but I got the acrylic in here for the edge lighting, which I think I might have done it differently if I go a second time. Like, I don't know if you think that this is cool with this back, like, kind of like reflection of the light. It's like indirect reflection. At night it looks awesome. During the day you can't see it so much. But one thing I was thinking about was putting acrylic in here so that it would be a crisper color. But seeing it like this, it kind of has a neat glow, at least on the camera, from the camera's perspective. Yeah, so that plug thing worked out well, so thanks for your tip on that, Matt. So again, make sure you follow NJ Printing. Also, Matt's channel is, I think he's, last I checked, you were like 32 away, maybe 31 away from hitting 1,000. So congrats on that. That's a big deal. Getting to the first 1,000, you know, and then 10,000 is right around the corner. Yeah, you know, you have that, right? And for whatever reason, why they're leaving. They could be leaving YouTube and they just completely checked out of YouTube just because of the bullshit that's going on. Yeah, I do have a test piece here. I don't have the end caps because I only printed one set of them. That was a perfect print. The end caps. So this was my first attempt. Nah, you know what? You don't worry about that, Matt. Not right now. Like, maybe in a little bit you'll start to worry about it. You know, the experts are going to say, you know, concentrate and keep doing what you're doing. But, yeah, it's you. It's about you, right? So your channel is how I do it. This is how I do it. I fly a drone over icy water. That's how I do it. I mean, it really fits what you do. You could just say that in your video. Yo, this is how I do it. I do everything. This is how I do it. Just do that. If you look at who is it? I like to learn who. Design, Make, Teach. One of them. They have. If you look at his channel, it's like really reduced. He started in 2011, and if you started in 2011, you probably have 1,000 videos. He doesn't have 1,000 videos up there. He only has like maybe 30 or something. And all right, yeah. See you, Noah Joshua. Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks for joining in. And good job on that caliper video. Um, so you look at his channel now, and it's like really cleaned up. He removed probably a bunch of other stuff that might have been vlogs and stuff, but we have no idea what's there because it's gone. We could go back in Twitter if he tweeted it, because you know the Twitter was cataloged by the Library of Congress up through 2017. It's not going to be done this year and following forward, but you can go back through Twitter and look at all the history there of any of the videos, and he may still have them not listed as private but unlisted. So we could possibly go back through and see what the content is there. But all channels go through, you know, evolution, and eventually you'll find your way in exactly what it is that you're going to do in your videos. So I would, like, if you look at my channel, I have videos up there from Wildwood, like when we go boating, because we live down in Wildwood during the summer. It's a Jersey shore town, for those not from this area. And I'm not doing 3D printing when I'm in Wildwood. There's no way. So for 2 months I'm out of pocket. I'm doing other stuff, and I'm not going to let my channel die because of that. So you're going to get videos of us boating and events at the shore, and you know, we're at venues, and I'm doing recordings for people. You know, friends of mine who run a band go down there. So I do it. Oh yeah. Now, is she from the area? Is she from your area, York, or is she Howland, or the area in South Jersey? Because yeah, we live down there. You guys can come visit, man. Be a hoot. Go out to dinner and stuff. Yeah, we're by, if you know Wildwood, we're our house is a block from the wharf, right in the center of Wildwood. So anyway, back to this piece here. This was modeled after the plug, right? So I took measurements of the plug. Yeah, and took the measurements, designed it. I didn't get too close, and I really didn't have to. And then the plug, there's a part of the plug that will not let the plug go all the way through. So I glued that down really good. And I even, when the plug was showing through this side here, I put lots, I gooped it up really good with CA glue, and used the accelerator on it to really seal it down. And then I used the 2 caps that you suggested I do, put that on there, glued it down. And then the screws I used were just number 6 wood screws, and then I taped off the area and painted it so you don't even see the screws now, because otherwise they were like a yellow zinc screw. So all that's hidden from the eye. So pretty good the way it turned out. I'm happy with it. I hope they are, and I think they will be. You know, because it's not for me, it's for the company. Yeah, thanks, Matt. So now I'll just continue cleaning up the shop. Yeah, let's talk about that. So I talked about this in the beginning of the stream. Slide the top off here. So this bracket here, this is a bracket that keeps the corner, the floating corner, offset from the piece 1 inch this direction and this direction. Yeah, that's 64 feet of LEDs in there. It's a lot of LEDs. Then this piece here is 3D printed, and that covers 2 number 6 or number 6 bolts. And so this corner just pops off. And let's see if we can get a good profile of that piece. So that's the side profile. And that just fits in there. And then this is the side profile of that piece. And that's screwed in, bolted in too. You can see the bolts in there, right there. Hopefully there was plenty of lighting for you to see the bolts. And then The acrylic is in here, which there's a small sheet of acrylic that's in here, and the indirect lighting from the LEDs to shine through. And I just tuck the wiring in there and get this aligned, and then I can reinstall the corner. There you go, so now the corner's on. So the bolts that come through here, I didn't want you to see the bolts, so I just created some crazy design in Fusion 360, extruded it, hollowed out the middle so that it would cover the bolts, and glued it on with some CA, and this whole thing is painted black. Then I'm going to take the top off. I'm going to show you the inside. Oh, the here, this is edge stripping, and this was 3D printed. I don't think you were on the stream, but Martin was definitely on the stream, and Rover. That's 3D printed. Then down here, that is 3D printed. That's just a 1mm strip with some holes through it to kind of give it a little different look, you know, instead of just being plain. I'll take the top off. Again, this is heavy. And now let me give some height to the... Yeah, edge molding, that's right. And then this is just a piece of MDF that the LEDs are mounted to. And I have two cabinet pulls so I can lift it up. And then the only thing that's 3D printed in here is the cap for the plug. And it's all glued in now. If I need to take that off, I don't think it's going to come off. I would have to use that, I did buy it, that CA glue remover that softens the CA glue. And then I have everything protected with a fuse, 5-amp fuse, because I measured the current 5 amps, so I chose a 5-amp fuse just to be safe in case if there's a short, it won't start a fire. And then you probably won't be able to see it because of all the lighting. But there is a right there. That's a battery charger right there. The Genius, Noco Genius, 10-amp deep cycle charger. Yeah, right. No, nobody should. And I did this, like everything is taped with electrical tape so that we can remove the tape and disconnect the wiring, like if I need to replace LEDs or whatever, we can do that. And like the LED strips in here, this face, so this was this is acrylic, 1/4-inch acrylic that I painted with 2 coats of Rust-Oleum flat, and then ran it on my CNC with their logo at a 0.01-inch engraving with a ball nose end mill. So it perfectly cut out their logo. I even left some of the paint here in the areas where it kind of like got stuck. I'm not even going to touch it because it adds like a little bit of character to it. But there's LED strips in here, and there's 32 foot of LED strips behind this. So it's a little overkill as far as LEDs are concerned. And there you go. That's the table. So this will probably be delivered this week. They didn't call me and tell me that they wanted delivery. But it is acrylic, and they didn't have frosted available. This sheet right here was 400 bucks. They didn't have frosted, so I used my palm sander, 320 grit. Is at the end. I tried 320. It was too fine. It was almost polishing it, so it didn't really help. I went to 220. Then yeah, self-frosted. Then I settled on 80, and I think 60 would have been even better. So I went with 60 grit and just sanded it down, and it's fine. There's still a little. I vacuumed it up as best I could, but you can see that it's still picking up a little bit of the pieces of leftover that I could see on my microscope. I got one of those USB microscopes. That would be interesting to see what it looks like under the microscope before I deliver it. So I failed miserably at what I tried to do, and that was using a paper towel. And I think I should have used a cloth, like a full towel, like a bath towel, just soaked, and run it over it, because it was leaving marks where the acrylic itself would settle behind and dry, and you would see streaks of dried acrylic. So that was horrible. So I had to resand that after it dried. But what's cool is when the top gets wet. Yeah, right. So when the top gets wet, you can see through it because of the refraction properties of water. It's really cool. In that regard, frosted would be better if it was frosted from the underneath instead of sanding it. But I took the suggestion of the manufacturer, and they said just sand it and sand it yourself. So it wasn't that difficult to do. It took me probably a half an hour at most to get all that done. I want to see if we can show you my son's studio. Let me see if he's in the middle of something. So he's in the middle of the game, so I'm not going to talk at all, but this is my son's studio.
Sorry! Yo, shut my door. What are you doing? No, just stop.
So he's in the middle of a stream. I just wanted you to see his studio. He doesn't have lights on. He's playing, I think he's playing Fortnite or CSGO. But him and his crew get really into it. So for the table or for his studio? His studio was like pushing 13,000. The table here is around, it's over 1,000 because the acrylic top itself was 400 bucks alone. But the manufacturers who make tables like these, they have a benefit of having quantity, and they can reduce their costs and everything. So yeah, good deal. So I'm going to end the stream now. I'm probably low on battery. Let's see, anybody have any questions or last thoughts? Matt, I don't know if you're a moderator in here. Are you moderator in here? I don't remember if I made you moderator. I have to make sure I do it next live stream. Yeah, that's cool. So that's in Virginia, right? Yeah, so Matt, post your Twitter link in there, and post a link to our Friday night 3D printing hangouts, March 18th. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to, in the beginning of March, I'm going to North Jersey Woodworkers show. That's in Secaucus. Meet up with all my woodworking buddies. So that's Matt's link. You know, make sure you follow that for the Friday Night 3D Printer Hangout if you don't already. And I'll make sure I include that. I should have that in all my video descriptions now. So I'll make sure I do that. The default for all my videos is going to have the Friday Night 3D Printer Hangout link in there, so people can check it out. So anyway, thanks for joining. Thanks for your inspiration, Matt, and everyone else. You know, hit me up on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter. Make sure you follow me there. I'll follow you back, and we can chat that way. I'm apolitical, and I don't express any opinions on Twitter or anything like that. I don't even do that on Facebook anymore. You know, just trying to focus on YouTube and staying away from all the politics of it. So anyway, thanks. Yeah, there you go. That's the group. That's the public, right? So you get on Facebook and follow that. All right, see you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for making You Do It prosper. Appreciate it as always.